always have that memory of Remax.
That is awesome. I hear a lot of those as children, because I remember the same thing. I didn't know what it was until I'm like, we were playing in that balloon envelope as kids.
Yeah. Do they do that anymore? Have you heard about it anymore?
We have a really cool school program, and pre-pandemic, my team used to manage about 350 local events with that balloon.
Oh my God, how fun. I love that. All right, well, I'm going to leave you guys to the conversation, but had to tell you about my fun experience.
Thanks, Chris.
Awesome. I have not been in a hot air balloon, so Chris, you got that on me.
You're missing
so
out.
Very jealous of this. It's a bucket list item, so hopefully I get to it eventually. Hi, James. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Very excited. So this is actually the first time I've done Brand Innovators. And when Chris was saying, hey, this is our lineup, and James is on board, he's from Remax, the VP of marketing, I was like, this is like the perfect, I have a passion for real estate and I work in the marketing space. I'm like, this couldn't be more ideal. Please sign me up. So I am very excited to have this conversation with you today, and to dive deeper into your role at Remax, all about the real estate market. It's obviously been an insane year, so definitely want to dive into that as well, but very excited to chat with you today.
You as well.
Cool. So let's dive into it. I know we have a half an hour to chat before we open it up for Q&A with all of our fans. So I would love to start. I've done a deep dive on you, stalked your LinkedIn profile, done the whole thing, Googled every article I could find about you. But would really love, to just hear more about your journey, how you started at Remax. I know that you've been there since 2011, but you weren't in your current role. Then you started as a business coach. So would love to hear more about how you started at Remax, what got you there, and just overall kind of your role right now, what you're doing, and just more about your team and stuff. So give us a rundown about this Remax journey, if you don't mind.
Well, thanks for having me. This is going to be fun. So I started off in real estate. I actually started in home building. Some family friends of mine were in the home building industry, had a top 10 builder. They were a top 10 builder at the time. And I thought I was going to go into finance or sales or something else. Marketing for me was always the touchy-feely part of like theory in school. And I thought it was going to more like general business, entrepreneurship's always been at the core of who I am. And when I started down that path in real estate, I found my happy place was marketing. It was the creative side of business. And so I started working with this internal agency, started doing website developments, digital before it was even called a thing. And then got into land development for a while. And it was just fun going out, finding big pieces of ground to help, not only bring builders into it, but how do we sell this and attract this right consumer and families and single people and all the different things that make up the fabric of a community. And so I did that for a while and then started my own marketing company. And my mom got sick. There was some stuff that happened in life. And I had always questioned, I was always in marketing, want to do something different. And I got a call from Remax about a business coach role, which was very consultative to all of the franchisees, kind of liaison to headquarters. So it was a way for me to get into operations and sales and some of the other stuff that I've dabbled in, but really take that with my marketing background and help our franchisees grow a business. We now call them franchise development consultants. Did that, manage a territory, anything from renewals, agent recruiting, all of that. And then got recruited away to a tech company and then did some health and wellness, came back in 16. Definitely through that, had some great experience, but knew that marketing is where it's at. That's where I wanted to be. And they brought me back with my real estate background, the operations side I'd had with Remax, to come back and help with at the time of brand refresh, modernizing our approach, looking at media, figuring how do we attract the consumer, what tools do our brokers need to recruit and retain agents, but more importantly, what tools do agents need to get in front of the consumer and build that pipeline and that repeat referral business that Remax is known for. So it's been a lot of different kind of parts that brought me in.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great background, a great way to start. So do you still have your real estate license? Do you keep it up to date?
I do not.
Okay. Because I'm in the market, I'm looking, and I'm in LA, and it's tough out here. So could use somebody on my side.
It's something that I think would be fun. It just, for me, it got to the point of keeping it up with the CE credits and whatnot and not using it. It went to the wayside.
No, totally makes sense. But very interesting. I love that you started that way, and that you've built up to where you are now in the role. So would love to do, a deeper dive. Obviously, Remax is one of the top and most recognized real estate companies around the globe. So from, a brand perspective, how are you guys differentiating yourselves and continuing to build on that big brand that you are, the image that you are, as Chris had mentioned, your hot air balloon logo? How are you guys continuing to differentiate yourselves in the space against the other big competitors that are out there?
Yep. It's a unique challenge. It takes a multi-tiered approach. And so we definitely look at the global side, we look at the national level, but then really getting into region. So how do you localize that message and that creative and that value prop as it relates to different models or even different ways real estate sold? And when you think about a condo in New York is very different than a condo in the Midwest versus even on the West Coast. There's nuance there. So how do we tailor that? And then really, global, national, regional, but then really getting into brokerage level branding as well as agent branding is how can we provide the tools and resources they need, helping them with content creation, helping them with multi-channel media that they could use, they can adapt. Co-branding is really important because obviously the brand, I think, brings credibility to that conversation, but our brokers and agents bring that brand to life. And what they do, how they do it, who they serve, the community, it's all a little different. And so really, how do we allow them to adapt and scale that and personalize that, put themselves with that brand?
No, that makes a ton of sense. So specifically your team is responsible for across the board as far as branding, what your image is against other competitors. And then you're allowing different markets to kind of take that and differentiate themselves to a certain degree.
In some cases, just to be clear, on the regional side, like we're still running, like my team manages 172 local campaigns in addition to national campaigns. So we're running those. But then the brokerage and agent branding and their marketing and their advertising and the tools they use come in, we provide that to them. And then really think of it, we're consultants. What kinds of KPIs should they be looking for? What does success look like if you're going to do this? Or, hey, you're trying to go after getting listings, how might you do that? If you're trying to represent as a buyer's agent, how might you do that? Here's some content you can use. We're trying to give them those tools so they can personalize it, but still it feels Remax. It's that consistency that matters. So no matter where they are, that local agent's advertising, that brokerage advertising starts to be kind of impacted by the breadth of the regional ads and the national layer on top of that.
Yeah, and I love that. Obviously, when I think of Remax, I just think of it as so huge and global. And I love that you guys are not only, on that national scale, but you guys are also helping in local markets as well. And your team has, their hands in that as well, which is really great.
I think that's what honestly is like one of the biggest privileges, I think, with what I do. I mean, home ownership is an American dream, but so is small business ownership. And we just sit right in the middle of that. We're helping independent agents build a business within their brokerage, within a bunch of brokerages with a big brand. We're the biggest small business around. It's cool.
No, I love that. And it takes us into kind of our next question as far as, these brand campaigns that you guys are building. Obviously your team does an amazing job across multiple verticals. I know, you had mentioned, and just from doing a little more of a deep dive into you, digital is really where you love to spend your time and energy as well as money. So would love to really better understand like which marketing platforms, obviously the year has been so different. We'll dive into that a little later. But like what marketing platforms have been the most successful for you guys? Are you changing in real time? But really, where do you love to see, your marketing dollars spent? Where has it been most successful for you guys at Remax?
And everybody wants that secret answer, right? And for me, it's really that that entire media mix is so important. Because I need to maintain awareness, right? Unaided is important. That's the kind of key version of awareness that we focus on. But total awareness is a definite part of it. So there's certain media and tactics with TV, video, radio, things that applies to. But what we've been really looking at is knowing there's only so many 5 million transactions in the US, right? How do I go find those intenders, those hand raisers? And so one of the cool things we've been doing the last few years is shifting from not so much one message for everybody, but how do we nuance that message by geography or who you might be in the process, right? And looking at different behavioral things like family formation, family separation, job transfer. So starting to look at, what different digital tactics it could be, the knot, the bump, they're thinking about family formation, or maybe they're growing out of their current space. How do we start to put the brand into that conversation with tools and resources, home search apps, that type of thing, to get the brand on that short list? But we know that most of the time, how do you find an agent? You're going to ask someone it's a referral. So then also making sure we give those agents the tools to do the same thing to create their own awareness, and just try to draw people into that full funnel approach, but really across multiple channels, multiple mediums. How can we convey the right message at the right time to the right audience, but also empower the global network we have to do the same thing and serve their communities.
Got it. I obviously coming from the influencer marketing space, so wouldn't be doing my job here if I didn't ask how you guys are, or if you are activating influencers, your strategy behind an influencer approach. Obviously dove into some of the digital that you guys have been doing, but would really love to understand. We saw a lot of brands that I work with this past year have shifted a lot of their marketing dollars from out of home, et cetera, over to influencers, which we love to see here at Influential, but would love to understand if you guys have an influencer strategy, what that looks like, and just your overall view on the influencer approach.
Yeah, I love the concept. I think for us, it's been hard to find that one person to gravitate towards as an influencer. But on the flip side, I look at it, I have 130,000 plus influencers, the agents that I serve. How do I get them to go out there and serve, right? Because how are they going to attract the consumer? The shift we've been helping is around helping the agents not always talk about real estate. It's not always about, I have a new listing, or I can represent buyer in 123 Main Street, 5-bedroom, 4-bath, X price, that boring stuff that everybody knows it. They're on Zillow, they're on Realtor.com, they're on Remax.com looking at that. How do we get our agents to get on video? Especially with pandemic, we were pushing video well before, the last 18 months happened, but the tools and resources we've been giving and that we're developing, is to really connect. How do you walk around the neighborhood? How do you show off the new restaurant that opens? How do you show how something lives? How do you become that local expert? And then ideally you're building rapport. And in some cases doing that with an unbranded approach, because there's that expertise and the consumer doesn't feel it's being sold. Well, then when all of a sudden they realize you're an agent, right? Or they realize that they're looking to buy and sell, hopefully we're helping our agents, these influencers, get on that short list. So that's kind of the approach we've been taking with that. And it's been working well because, again, they're the ones that are out there meeting at the coffee shops, going to the mommy groups, at the soccer practice, in and out of the office buildings, and working with people and just being able to educate their value and what they can bring to the process of buying and selling, especially in today's crazy market.
Yeah, that's interesting. So using your own network essentially of influencers or agents / your own influencers there. It's an interesting way to approach it. So do you, on that level then, are you kind of arming your teams with, kind of best practices for social, what they should be doing on their Instagram handle, that kind of approach for your team?
Yep. So we've got a great social media team. We have a really talented team of people kind of in different categories around the company to help support our network. And so, we do big events, an international convention every February that we bring, 6, 7, 8,000 of our network from many countries. And we do a lot of workshops and trainings, and social media experts and gurus come in and talk, and influencers that have done it well, and how do they build their audience. So that education knowledge is really important. It's a big part of who we are. Even with our on-demand, like Remax University, they can get on at any point in their PJs, start digging into new best practices, or, hey, what's this new social platform? Do I want to get onto it? We're helping them kind of cut through that and learn what they can do. And again, what would success look like and what might they consider? But also, how do you create the content? Because that's the hard part. So it's easy. I want to be an influencer and build my following, but how do you build the content? I think that's the hard part today.
Yeah.
And do it in an appropriate way.
Yeah, which actually is interesting because does your team have do they kind of police as far as imagery and keeping up to standards of the Remax brand? How are you guys able to make sure that the content that's being posted, it's a representation and a great representation of who Remax is from quality perspective, along those lines? Does your team have a say in that? How much say do they have in that?
We can help influence that. We definitely monitor and look at, but we have worked through
Yeah.
the broker owners to help them educate. And a lot of times the brokers will have a marketing person on their team. So we'll work with that person, educate them on what we have. A lot of it too, if you think of programs, instead of having to go find it and pull it down and assume, is this correct? Is this safe? Even to end like licensing is an issue, right? Do I have the right and ability to use this photo? A lot of agents realize they're just jumping online, searching on Google. They pull something down and don't realize there's trademark around that. There could be licensing and
Yeah, definitely.
So we've been creating tools like we did a partnership with PhotoFi where we're preloading a lot of this content and templates and campaigns and photography and things they can use to help fast track some of that and automate some of the work. But we definitely sometimes you have to have those uncomfortable conversations, but for the most part, people want
to take this down immediately.
Yeah, they put the right stuff out. They were trying to do, right. Some are a little quirkier than others, but again, I think what's cool about that is for us, it's my brand has multiple voices, right? It's very inclusive. So when I think about, again, the shift from demographics, a 25 to 54 adult predominant female was the target back in the day. Well, now we look at who are the people that make that up and how do we find out what makes them tick and what are they doing and what are they not doing? And that's where our agents really, they kind of find their niche because they know what they're going after and who they want to attract and appeal to.
No, it completely makes sense. And I love that approach that you guys are hands-on, but to a certain degree, allowing, your agents to have their own kind of voice and brand while at the same time keeping up with the Remax look and feel and just the brand on that level. So this is something that I'm really interested in chatting about now. Obviously, this past, year and a half in the pandemic has been a challenging year in the economy in general. So we're seeing just a ton of people, obviously, unfortunately, losing their jobs, different businesses having to shut down, et cetera. At the same time, the real estate market is on absolute fire. I live in LA and I know multiple people that have been in bidding wars for different homes across the county. And I've never seen the market so hot, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon, which is incredible. From a marketing perspective, how are you, being empathetic to people that are going through a challenging time, shifting your messaging, et cetera. So being aware of what's going on in the economy, but also understanding how hot the market is right now and how, well your agents are doing and just real estate in general. Would love to better understand how you guys are approaching that, how you're shifting your messaging, how you shifted it in the last year and a half.
Oh, there's a lot of questions in there. So if I forget,
sorry, I know
no,
it was just
great.
Something that I've really been thinking about, and it's awesome. We'll dive into it more, but it's a big part of what's going on today.
It is. It's so weird because when you hear the news and you kind of see what's going on around, in the beginning, it was that scary part of what's going to happen with real estate. And it did not slow down. We had definitely had a lull, right? Especially with shutdowns and things happening, we pulled all of our advertising out of the mix, literally scrambled, came up with a consumer message, kind of that calming, peaceful message we want to put out to consumers. But then we really had to double down with our network, especially when you think about the global impact. I mean, we still have countries that are shut down. We still have people that are in and out of this today. They're all at different varying levels and degrees. But what's interesting is what we really wanted to help the network understand was this is not the time to get forgotten. This is not the time to back off. This is also, especially early days, this isn't the time for the hard sell either. The difference being is how do you serve the community that you're part of, right? So we saw things with virtual tours, obviously picking up and virtual open houses, but we even had agents getting like virtual happy hour events in their communities, or getting buyers and sellers together, or mommy groups, and just being a support and resource for people to ask questions. Some of our offices became locations for supplies. We gave them like house kits for safe, like with, you know, masks and like the safety stuff to be able to safely show the home. There's a lot of different things that we saw popping up that was really cool in the early days. But then it was just, now how do we shift out of that, right? We're not out there. What we focus on is what happens from for sale to sold, the actual process of buying and selling. And that's some of the messaging that we've adjusted in our creative, especially today. We're working on next year already with, you know, the fact that it's multiple competing offers, the negotiation skill set we can offer, like, again, just education for consumer when thinking about choice. But the reality of the market is agents don't have to market as much because there's bidding wars, like you mentioned. There's so much, it goes so fast. So it's a weird balance that we're literally shifting. You know, we look at it weekly, but we're shifting on a monthly, quarterly basis and adjusting the tone and putting messages in, pulling them out, swapping the video creative, whatever it might be.
I think, you know, it's interesting, like I said, to see kind of where it's going to go. I don't see it slowing down anytime soon, which is incredible for, you know, agents and everything that I had mentioned. During this time, I know, you know, like you said, it's an interesting balance on, you know, your marketing messaging with arming your agents. You know, obviously real estate has always been an in-person kind of a transaction, face-to-face meetings, etc. It's great to see that your agents were doing things like virtual happy hours and stuff like that. Was there anything specific that your marketing team has implemented during this last year and a half, like any kind of virtual tools, anything that your team has seen, you know, that you've been able to give your agents that has been successful for them over this past year and a half?
Yeah, I'd say the company, when it all started, we got them all free Zoom accounts to start, just so they had a way to connect. We have a site called remaxhustle.com. We started putting out a lot of different content tools around that. So one of them being, you know, don't get forgotten. Here's a way to create a custom ad. You can create a custom commercial and just put their end card at the end of one of our spots. We also rolled out a really cool, it's called a custom video editor tool. If you think of like a Photoshop meets iMovie with kind of the Instagram movie filters and kind of just some of the best of a little bit of both, we built this video editor tool to allow our agents to create custom video without having to have a videographer, without having to know how to use iMovie, and just simplify it where literally take pictures and videos on your phone, little sound bites, and create anywhere from a 15 or 30-second version if they want to advertise. And we have another platform we rolled out for that, or create long form content up to 3 minutes and use this tool to create that and download it and then put it on your YouTube channels, send it out to your, maybe it's one-to-one if it's a recruiting message, put it on their websites, put it in their social media, start just creating that just not to be forgotten again. There's just a lot of different pieces of content we created. Photofy, another one I mentioned earlier. How can they use that to create content? Even videos, they can take a video on their phone and put an overlay on it to maybe kind of brand themselves or further the conversation with the next step. Just giving them these tools that we rolled out in the last 18 months to really make it easier and take some of the, not automate it to be done for them, but maybe 80% of the way there, and they just need to personalize, tweak a little bit, and make and then send it out.
That's super helpful. I'm sure your agents, hopefully they're using it a ton, which is awesome. Obviously it's different in every market. Being here in LA, I love to see that open houses are happening again. So people are actually able to physically get in homes. You know, with these resources that you've given to these agents, virtually digital things that they're allowed to do you see a lot of the agents using these marketing tools beyond, you know, the pandemic? Are they still going to be using them after, even as open houses are becoming a regular thing that we're seeing now on weekends, which I actually love when I'm like driving around and seeing open house down the street. I'm like, yes, we're coming back. Open houses are a thing again.
I love when I see those too.
It's like the little things, I get excited about it.
Well, and at the end of the day, I think that people are people. Human nature is going to step back in. We go back to some of our familiars, but I do think the idea of video is not going to go anywhere. The use of it, even just being able to quickly showcase a home versus, you know, showing your buyer 50 homes, you can maybe cut down on the drive time and show a few of them virtually. Virtual showings, I don't think will go away. I think consumers are liking it, especially as the seller. It's a little easier than having to like live in a model home, especially if you've got kids and always being ready to drop on a dime and be gone. I think virtual showings are something that I personally think we'll see long term. And I think consumers, we did some research and I can't share the results yet. We'll be sharing that out here soon. But consumers are definitely, they feel more connected with agents than they did before. The need of an agent's coming out stronger than before because it's complicated, it's tough, and who's got my back and who's gonna watch out for me. But they really have enjoyed the technology enables them to kind of figure out what part, like especially in the home search or that process, they're looking for the way to know where they fit in the process and let the agent kind of take some of the harder parts or the things that they're not comfortable with. So I think it's definitely going to be an interesting hybrid as we go forward and look at what's happening and how do we match the consumer and the different types of consumers and comfort levels with what they what they need, what they can do, how they can get into a home.
And I think just anything, as a consumer myself, just the ease and the convenience, just seeing real estate, just rather than having to go to the open houses, like there's so many different tools that, for example, Remax has been able, allowed the consumer to do from the comfort of their home and knock things out while they're working remotely or whatever.
And if you just look at what a consumers have their behavior, I mean, the amount of time that consumers spent through the pandemic and still now looking at real estate online and sifting through photos and pictures, and it's hours. It like I saw a stat that literally was mind-boggling.
That's
like, they're spending more time looking at homes than they are on Facebook and Instagram and all the others. It was shocking. I mean, even that funny Zillow SNL skit that happened, we got a little plug in there. It was hilarious, and they were calling it real estate porn. It was a real thing. People were like daydreaming. Well, I thought I liked my house. It lives different now, and now I've got a place where how do I do with work and school and home? It's weird how home is shifting for what our priorities are, what's important to us, and that's
100%. Yeah, and I am one of those guilty consumers that spends a ton of time on different platforms looking at real estate. So. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we have a few more questions here before I have to open it up to everybody else and selfishly let other people talk to you too. I've been selfish with my time here. So, okay, really quickly, since, obviously you've been there since 2011, you had the stint, you left, you come back in your marketing role. Your entire experience and career at Remax, what is something that you would say has been your proudest moment during your time there?
What's funny, and I don't mean this to sound cliche, I think it's how we adjusted with the pandemic. I mean, we were even like talking to my internal team. I don't believe you have to be at like button chair in a certain location in order to do a good job. This has really shown that that's possible, right? We've been able to expand our talent pool, the level of support, how we were able to really come together, adapt quickly while we were all trying to figure out what life meant, like what that was meaning and how we were going to get through this. And our kids going to school, are they home, are we in, are we out? And it was just a lot. But I'm super proud of how we all came together, not only as a headquarters team, but the global teams, like coming together and really supporting each other and helping and having that, being vulnerable to answer the questions and help them get through this. It was rewarding. It was one of those reminders that it's cool to wake up in the morning and realize that it's not just about like, what am I going to do for myself today? I have so many people that we're responsible for. How do we help them? How do we serve them? And I'm proud of what we accomplished. That was really cool.
I love to hear that. I think you guys have done an incredible job. Like I said, the market it's been incredible to see, but I think just knowing that responsibility and what you guys have taken on, I think you've done an incredible job. So couldn't be more excited for you. All right, I'm gonna open it up in a second here, but this is more, a personal question to you. What are you What's that?
Are you gonna make me cry?
Maybe, we'll see. That's the goal here. No, looking at the next, we're at the second half of this year, the back end.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to most personally, on a personal level, and then professionally too? I can't believe we're halfway through the year, but here we are, and would love to see what you're looking forward to.
I think on a work level, professional level, I miss my people. Like my extroverted soul got crushed in this pandemic. I want to travel again. I want to get out. I want to see the world and with my team and go meet our customers and just get back out there. That's what I'm really excited about. And I actually have trips that got scheduled for the second half of the year. So it's actually happening. I'm going to get these wings back. I think on a personal
Awesome.
side for me, it's health. Like the quarantine 20 was real. My body feels wrecked.
Preach.
I literally put jeans on for this and was buttoning up the shirt. I'm like, God, it just snugs a little differently than it used to.
You didn't have to do the bottom half. No one's looking at this.
I'm just like, for me, it's that reality of I'm not as active as I once was. I really need to I got to get myself a priority again. I need to make myself a priority. And so that's something I'm working on a home gym right now. Just got a Peloton in. It's been sitting there with clothes on it for 2 weeks. Like that's not a good sign, but just trying to get back into health and that mind, body, spirit alignment that I desperately need.
I am right there with you. I'm happy that things are starting to open up again. We're getting a little bit of that our old selves back, I guess, So great. So I am going to go ahead and let's see, open it up for some Q&A now. I know we have a few minutes. If people want to ask questions here, Chris, tell me if I'm doing this correctly here with the questions on the right-hand side.
Oh, not a good sign. There's no questions. They're like, get this guy.
No, I don't know if I'm doing it. Okay, now they're popping up. Let's see. Okay, someone's asking, what has been a key motivator that gets you up each morning during these unusual times?
So for me, key motivators, I've literally been thinking about how can I show up better each day, whether that's for myself, my family, my friends, work, customers. I literally keep having this mantra every morning. If you haven't read the book Miracle Morning, I picked that back up. I dusted it off. It's fantastic. I've been going through that. How do I start the day off? Kind of whether it's meditation, reading a book, just those few minutes each morning is what I've been focusing on.
Okay. And you guys are working remote still right now?
We are. We're hoping, we're all scattered, but we are thinking we'll start getting back to the office in some form or fashion starting September, we think.
Okay. And home base for you and your office is Colorado, right?
Colorado, yep.
Okay.
We're like, I'm right now at my house in the Midwest. I came out here thinking it'd be a week or two, and a year and a half later, here I am.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So you stayed there during the entire pandemic and quarantined there and everything. Mm-hmm. I love that. And it's a question that I always ask somebody when I get on video with them, like, where are you located exactly? Where are you getting Wi-Fi? Because you could essentially with Wi-Fi work from anywhere. So I love that. Great. So someone is asking, what has been your favorite campaign that you've ever worked on over at Remax?
I think the 2020 campaign we launched, you'll see the videos on Remax Hustle for the branded campaign. We created 12 different commercials and 12 different videos and allowed them to brand it. For me, it was different because it went from 2 or 3 messages trying to hit the masses to really getting into content and audience segmentation. And it worked really well. Helped with our awareness levels, but really even getting into more of those lower consideration, lead gen, app conversion, generating potential opportunities to our agents. With that, the challenge has also been, nobody likes chasing cold leads. I think that's been, especially with today, with how many people are looking online and looking at these different portals and the amount of leads being generated, it's a lot of work for an agent to sift through and find some real people. So that's some of the stuff we keep working through. But that campaign has just worked really well with our consumers. But more importantly, gave kind of confidence for our network to go out there with the new models and spruce up their listing presentations and be able to kind of have that confidence to deliver.
Great. Another quick question we have here. Is there a mentor that you kind of looked up to throughout your career that kind of helped shape where you are today?
early on, I had my mentor, Penny Johnson. She was our head of marketing for the home builder I worked for. She's still, there's little isms, you know, when you get a boss that will tell you something, it just sticks in your mind.
Totally. First job ever. Yeah.
I literally still think about her often, especially when I'm questioning, is this the right approach, or looking at results and it didn't necessarily go the way you thought. So you're trying to figure out the shift or how you're going to pivot. But she always told me that business is not about being perfect. It's about problem solving. And I think for us, sometimes I think, especially with marketing, it's not perfect campaign. There's everything figured out. And while yes, you want that to happen, especially when you're dealing with a brand my size, I can't necessarily I don't want to make a mistake. But what's cool is we do allow for some testing and some trying of new things. And how do we think outside the box to approach the problem, you know, finding a seller. And so I've been able to use some of those early learnings from her to apply today on our approach and how we want to kind of break apart the problem we're trying to solve and come at it completely different than we have before. Unfortunately, we've got leadership that supports that as well, to innovate and be okay to take risk within reason. It's been very rewarding. I think someone beyond that from early career, Gary Vaynerchuk was always the guy that love him or hate him. I loved how his premise of you need to find those early things like Google search back in the day before people were doing it. And how do you get into some of these channels and really double down before big brands come in and make it more cost prohibitive or saturate it with a bunch of inventory. So I just think some of what he said over the years has also been something I've watched.
Very cool. All right, 2 more questions. Hopefully could get into both of them here. Someone's asking, what kind of skills do you look for now in hiring new candidates to your team?
What kind of skills?
Mm-hmm.
So really, it's kind of funny. I can quickly take it past some people's digital and find out like, how do they manage their own? Now I get it. If you look at mine, it's going to look a little stale lately because there's been so much we're focusing on other things. But I think for me, it's the soft skills more than the technical skills. I can teach those. Presentation's a big one, being able to speak to small groups, especially comfortable on video, not being afraid of the camera. And that's not an easy one because presentations used to be my biggest fear. So you can overcome it, work through it, but those are some of the skill sets I'm looking for, is the soft side. Good portfolio, good work that they've done, out of the box thinker.
Cool. All right, we have time for one more here. And someone is asking, what do you lean into to find balance outside of work? Is it books, shows, podcasts? I'm into this question, so let's hear it. What are you doing in your personal time?
So in my personal time, I'm literally playing contractor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's that I miss building, and I love going in and like remodeling an old home or knocking down a bathroom for like the Weekend Warrior project. Like those are things for me that sometimes it's not instant because it's not done in the weekend, but I've been really enjoying digging in and rebuilding and redoing.
Awesome. Is that for personal or are you doing a side hustle? Okay. I love it. Great. So those are the questions. Thank you. This was fun. Chris, I mean, why is this the first time I'm doing this? This is a good time.
I'm questioning this myself, Ashley. Jeez, what took you so long?
This was fun.
James,
job. Thank you so much. I had a great time with you. Like I said, it's been
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Passion. I love it. Chris, anything else that
well, just one quick question I have for you, James, and I know it's kind of along the lines of what Ashley was talking about with the market and how recently it's been through the roof. If the pandemic is truly ending, as we all hope, what do you think will ultimately be the effect on the real estate